Right, Mark. Nice to see you, mate.
You too.
It's a special little podcast for us, as you've had a pretty nice experience just recently. I'd say pretty nice, pretty special, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Really, I mean, it only comes around every 5 years, and this one was longer because of COVID. And so, as you say, have the opportunity to just be involved was mega.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. So it was the JP McManus Pro-Am at Adair Manor. 2 rounds?
2 rounds, yeah. Monday,
2 rounds.
Tuesday.
And the guests get amazingly looked after.
From start to finish, yeah.
From arriving, they looked like they were arriving in helicopters.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them. So there was a couple of helicopters set up on a shuttle route from the golf course to the airport, local airport, Shannon. So I think guys had the option to come in and out on each day, because I think you could actually get there on the Friday evening, do the practice on Saturday, Sunday, and then tournament Monday, Tuesday. So, but I mean, listen, I was really nicely looked after, and I was just, the second, third tier of what was going on, and really from airport to airport with the 3 days in between, everything was taken care of. So it was a really, really impressive event.
Yeah, amazing. So let's set the scene a little bit. So JP McManus Pro-Am comes around every 5 years.
I believe
they invite all the best golfers in the world to come play. Some amazing names, and then there's lots of very affluent, successful people get to play with those pros.
Yeah.
Teams of 3.
Yeah, teams of 3.
Teams of 3, and you obviously got to caddy for a mate of ours, Phil Jansen.
That's right, yeah, he kindly invited me.
CEO at BT, and then who else was in the team?
So we had Peter Jones, the Dragon.
The Dragon's Den, yeah.
And Stephen Myron, who's global.
The global, they have Capital FM.
Exactly,
that sort of
yeah, global.
But 3 really cool guys, right?
Really, really nice mixture of people. And we had, day one we had Lee Westwood as well, who was just a great guy as well.
Yeah. So you arrive. So everyone arrives, and then does everyone know when they come in? Do they know who they're going to play with?
So the draw was done on, I think it was Saturday night, wasn't it? Because you were the first person that texted me.
Media,
you texted me. So I probably within a half-hour window, I had sort of 5 or 6 texts come in that night with everyone, different people saying different things, but screenshots are basically the tee sheet. So I think everyone found out on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And yes, as you say, sets the scene. Some guys were already there, some guys are flying in on Sunday. So yeah.
And you were with Phil, so obviously Phil decided to take it seriously. He's taken, because you help him out with his game all the time, and he's gone, right, I've got this big event, I better take Mark along with me, because at any level, everyone wants to give the best example of themselves.
Definitely.
So he's taken you along. What are the AMs like being around? So on the first day, you get out to the practice ground. There's major champions, big players, so forth. What are the AMs like? Are they nervous? Are they chill?
It's a mixture. Everyone was really excited. It just had a buzz about the place. The minute you drove in, everyone was buzzing to be there. And that Adair Manor is some place. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world and play some amazing golf courses, but that honestly is second to. I've not been to Augusta, but this was the chat basically throughout the whole week. That is second only to Augusta. In terms of the quality and the setup of the golf course, it was mega. So it was set up like a tour event, like a major. So it's all roped off everywhere. The range had the tailor-made tour van there that were fitting out all the guests with. They had a custom fit session, every single one of them, half-hour session with one of the tailor-made guys, and then they'd have a full set of clubs.
So every amateur had a full set of clubs built for them.
Yeah, well, that was so everyone had that option available to them, whether or not everyone took that up. But so the range I got there on the Sunday, so the range was packed on Sunday with people that were, going through that process, also practicing. Some of the pros were there who weren't playing the previous week, who got in early. Because obviously this for some of the pros was the beginning of the 2-week prep for the Open. So it already had a buzz when I got there. As I say, it felt like a major. It was definitely one of the it was like a Rolex event for sure, but it had a major feel to it, even on the practice days.
So, so if we're going to re-tee up here, essentially the reason why we got you in to come and chat about this is you got to caddy in the same group as Tiger Woods, because obviously Tiger came from, we haven't mentioned his name yet, which must have been, obviously that was quite a moment seeing that. Not many people get to spend much time with Tiger, especially in a slightly relaxed environment.
Yeah.
where you probably get a bit more out of him. But like, is there, when he arrives, is everyone kind of aware of him, or is everyone like, there's so many kind of big players here, on and off the golf course, that he's just someone else who's about?
No, it's when Tiger turns up on the real estate, you know he's there, even if you can't see him.
Even with people like Peter Jones around, who are, you know, are pretty big players and you know what they're doing.
They're all in his world in
Yeah.
that moment. I mean, Peter, Stephen, and Phil were all just absolutely buzzing to play with Tiger, but they were nervous. You know, as you say, they're big players in their industries. They've been around these pros before in other capacities, and this was just different. And it was funny because everyone saw the draw come out, and as we were moving around on the Sunday and even and the Monday, everyone's coming up to all three of them, and you know everyone knows that they've
got to play Westwood first,
Yeah,
and then
Monday.
Was that a good thing? They kind of got warmed into it.
I would say definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it was flipped the other way, I think it would have been a ton of pressure and it might have ruined it for them. But I think they got to ease in nicely, and Lee was great. Lee played really nice. He's such a nice guy. They had a great time, and actually, as a group, they didn't play so well with Lee. Like it was a bit scrappy, and you know the next day something completely different would come about. But Monday was
Did
a
anyone
good start.
kind of give him a bit of banter about the fact they got a decent player the next day?
Yeah. Like I think Lee even came up on the first tee and said, "Oh, well, this is a bit of a letdown for you, isn't it? Like, or I'm playing second fiddle." But you know, but like I was saying, like everyone at the event just would come up to these guys, even me, and say, "Oh my God, you know what an opportunity! This is what what everyone wanted to be," type thing. So, yeah, there was
Amazing.
a massive buzz.
And then what was your first sighting of Tiger?
I actually saw Tiger leaving the premises on Sunday in his helicopter. So when I arrived, they literally walk into the clubhouse to the helicopter, which was on the range, so a very short distance, and just watched him go off. And even then, you probably got 200 people following. You're just walking him through down to the helicopter, and off he goes. So I first saw him on Sunday, and then he had an afternoon draw, which we had also. So I saw him on the Monday with his preparation. So.
And did he have, I presume, so he had Joe LaCava there as caddy?
No, he had his friend Rob McNamara was with him.
Is that the guy who looks after, like, helps him be eyes for his swing and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, he's like exactly. He does a lot of travel with him. Super nice guy, and you can just see it immediately. Like they're so similar the way they are together. And as I say, a super nice guy.
Because I think doesn't he run his foundation or something
like
that?
Yeah. So he's on the Tiger Woods Foundation. Yeah, he's on the sheet as running that. So I mean,
so like CEO of the Tiger Woods Foundation and this week caddy.
Yeah. I think he travels a lot with him when it comes to golf. So
It seems to be a bit of a thing now, doesn't it? Like when like Rory obviously has his best mate Harry Diamond on the bag.
Yeah.
Like, and it seems to be like he has him on the bag. He's a decent caddy, but like just for a social thing, really, because of all the travel they do. Probably quite nice to have someone of their pals.
Yeah, I mean the entourage that followed most of these guys, because as you say, they were the best players in the world at this pro-am, and the entourage that follows, especially in the preparation, the guys coming overseas in the preparation of the Open, everyone's coming. So
does he get a moment to himself? Is it people are kind of on him from like when he arrives at the golf course?
Yeah,
just non-stop.
It is, but I think luckily in this event, there's an element of respect that, you know, it's a charity event. Everyone appreciates that they've all made the effort, especially Tiger, to come to this. And with Tiger in this day and age, you know, that this was the beginning of his prep for the Open. So everyone was pretty excited just to see him. But it's not, I would say it wasn't like an overwhelming, like off the course and on the range, it wasn't like an overwhelming pressure on his time. I don't think it was really
he quite
well
happy to give this time? Like, was he quite relaxed?
He was
around people.
I would say he was reasonably relaxed, but not much of a different Tiger sort of around the estate, as it were. Like, so he wasn't. There weren't a ton of autographs and this, that, and the other. He was still, you know, tunnel vision.
Was he? That's
for the most part, from what I saw. But then I guess I saw to the range, from the range to the tee. I didn't see him knocking about in the changing rooms. A lot of guys were in there. I got to chat with a few of them. Because again, that was once you were in, if you had the right passes, you were it was pretty open.
Right.
So all the amateurs, all the caddies, etc., you got to mingle. So it was, it was relaxed in that sense. But Tiger wasn't really around as much as the other guys were, for sure. The other guys camped out, they were having lunches and things like that. Tiger less so. It was pretty businesslike.
Was he knocking about with any of the pros, or was it because everyone was with a team, they're a bit distant?
No, it was pretty relaxed like that. So when they were on course or range stuff, like he was walking about a little bit and sort of chatting to guys like Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, etc. Like all the guys you would expect him to. Rory, he's got a really good rapport and relationship. It appears to me with Rory. It was definitely once they were around each other. And the amateurs and spectators weren't so close. It was you could see that everyone was pretty chill.
And then you said when everyone goes to warm up on the range, because obviously we get to see all these boys when they're out on the course, see that part of it. But it's probably more interesting to be in the round, which is nice. Yeah. But to see them in and around the range and stuff. So when they arrive to the Pro-Am, is it literally just a free for all? There's just some geezer of 26. Shanking and duffing, and then next to him is Rory McIlroy just flushing 8 irons.
No, so
or is it pros are down here a little bit and the AMs are
this particular one? Their range is phenomenal. It's like a massive 2-tiered grass, double-ended grass range. So I'd say the pros had one tier and the amateurs had the tier further down. So they were all in a line, but they were segregated. Pros, AMs. So as you say, you've not got your guy that's randomly hitting balls next to Rory and Tiger and duffing it 5 foot because he can't feel his arms. So,
that would be quite intimidating for a lot of the guys. Kind of mixing on the range and being around that sort of.
Well, from what I saw, obviously I go to the amateur to the section with a warm up, and from what I saw, even with because the spectators were watching both pros and amateurs, because there's some famous guys there in their own right that are not professional golfers but professional sportsmen or high net worth individuals. So there are people still interested in watching them, and you saw a lot of funny shots just because people aren't used to that. And there's 50,000 people each day at this event. And there were morning and afternoon starts. Right. So you had waves of people coming in and out. So there was so many people watching, and a lot of amateurs you could see were very uncomfortable with it, and some less so. Some loved it. There's some definitely.
It is amazing seeing really good sports people kind of crumble in a situation which is not their own. The footballers play in front of 50, 60, 70,000 people. Put them in a golf scenario and they hate it by comparison, but obviously just out of their comfort zone. They're not an expert at it. It is an amazing situation. So let's move it on. So you've kind of seen Tiger about, no doubt, kind of had a little eye on how he's hitting it on the range, and just watch him hit a few shots and be a bit apprehensive of what's coming up. And then do you play in the afternoon on the day when you played with him?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, 1:45. Yeah.
So you get to chat to him before, or is it just go meet him on the tee?
No, we could have chatted to him on the range, but I think at that point Tiger doesn't know who you are, you know who he is. So no real conversational introductions pre-first tee.
He didn't know who you were? I thought he would have.
No.
Your Instagram's private, that's why.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm very particular. So it was just first tee where the introductions were made, and just that walk down to the first tee was incredible. You've got, I'd say if there were 50,000 people on the course, there must have been 35,000 people in the walk down to the first tee and then down that first hole.
For him?
Just for him. And I'd had to walk. We didn't manage to play all the holes on the Sunday, so I went out on the Monday morning and walked for the holes, and I went. And there were some big crowds in places, but it was pretty much 50,000 people was evenly distributed. So it felt like there was a lot going on, but there was space. But it was, Tiger played just a couple of tee times before us on Monday, and you just suddenly this whole putting green walk down to the first tee just packed out. There were so many people. It was the most people I've seen at a golf tournament. In
one spot.
In one spot.
Not spread out.
Yeah, not spread out.
Yeah, that is amazing, isn't it? And I guess everyone's just loving him, right? There's there's like probably a pretty warm feeling towards
Definitely.
Tiger, right?
You know, everyone's shouting out all the things you would expect and all good stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just, as I said, it was real buzz because that's the first time many people had seen Tiger since
the
PGA.
Yeah, that's right. The Masters, was it not?
Did he
Yeah,
make a
played-
couple of rounds at the PGA? I'm not. Why?
Yeah, because
Let's just say the Masters.
Yeah, well, I mean, a long time.
Yeah.
I think it was Masters, but yeah, it's a long time, right? So everyone's like, even though it's not a major, I think any time anyone gets to see Tiger on a golf course, so we've seen, haven't we? When he was out of action, then he posted that one golf swing on social media, and then
Meltdown.
Facebook and everything just shut down, didn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much, which to actually get them to score. So what do they do? Do they then score in the tournaments? Like,
So they
the
had their
pros
own
keep a
ball.
score,
Yeah.
and then best 2 from 4 in the pro.
So it was so we all hit our tee shots. Pro's ball is always in the game. He's got a post to score, and then we took the best tee shots and played Texas from there.
Right. Okay.
And then it was the best 2. So obviously the pros ball is always in play. So essentially it's one of the amateurs more
Okay.
often than not.
Yeah.
It was a good format. Like kept everything moving and
Probably keeps it quite social because everyone kind of standing together a little bit
yeah,
as well.
to a point. I mean, it was tricky. It was tricky with Tiger because he was in a cart.
Right.
So Tiger kind of could.
So he's riding the cart, so he's still not in the best of shape.
No,
Was he
and
hobbling about a little bit.
I mean,
Or was he just protecting himself?
I think he was protecting himself and knowing what was to come. Although he was moving pretty gingerly.
Was he?
The whole time I saw him throughout the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. And what was his game like? Because I got to see him a little bit at St Andrews, but what was it like pre that? I mean, it looked pretty good to me when
His range warm up was pure.
Was it?
I spent a bit of time because the short game area is right next to. He was last man on the range, so I could see both. I could do my job and keep an eye on what
Are you
he
just
was
like
doing.
looking at Tiger and being like,
Yeah, exactly. Like
Here you go,
just
Phil.
cleaning the club. Like,
There's another club, mate.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to that hole. So yeah, he was swinging it lovely on the range, like he was moving it around both ways as you would expect. He likes to hit all the shots, so he was doing that, working his way up through the bag, looked good. And then on the golf course, he didn't play so well on the Monday. Obviously,
Right.
I didn't see too much of that, but he shot 73, 1 over, I think it was, when he played with us.
And what were the other guys kind of shooting? What was the leading score?
Xander won it with 8 under.
Right, over
I
2
think,
rounds.
Over 2 rounds.
Right.
So it wasn't like I mean that's a serious golf course playing at
It's quite a big
7 and a
golf
half,
course,
and no run and
soft.
it was a big golf course. So, but yeah, so he shot 1 over, and it was pretty solid. I'd have to say, like he was moving the ball both ways, messing around with his trajectory a little bit. The early phase of the round, he didn't putt so good. Like he didn't quite have the pace of the greens. Didn't look like he quite had it. But in general, his game looked really tidy. He hit some really nice short game shots.
So just real quick, so you get down to the first tee. There's like you said like 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Are they pretty tight in? Because obviously for the AMs, that'd be quite a nerve-wracking situation.
To be fair, they
of
created
space.
a bit of space.
Give him a bit of space.
Around the first and the 10th tee, there was a bit of space.
And did he tee off first or did the AMs go first?
He teed off first, yeah, because
Right.
they made all the pros play back.
Different tees, right?
And yeah, the AMs played.
And what was
played
his
forward.
first tee shot? Because there must have been quite a bit of anticipation about where his first tee shot was going to go.
Yeah, he melted it. He drove the ball, actually, by all accounts, both days, pretty well. He definitely drove it well when we played with him. And he just melted it straight down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, he's not always been a great first tee shot player, but he's obviously figured it out in his later part of his career.
It was interesting because Tiger at the beginning of the round versus Tiger at the end, 2 different people. He was very, very much in his own world on that first tee. He did all the things that he should do. He shook everyone's hand, or the players anyway. But he was very much in his own space.
Or you didn't go for one?
No one. I wasn't at that point. Listen, I'm there for Phil. I'm making sure that, because obviously it's a big moment for him.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that he's where he needs to be to do what he can do. And so
It's not time to be a fanboy just yet.
no, not at all. So yeah, Tiger was very much in his own space. How you've seen it on TV on the first tee of majors, etc., etc. So it was just him, Rob. He did his pictures and his shaking of hands, and that was it.
And then so he kind of gets into it for a few holes, does he? So he pars the first couple of holes.
Yeah.
Did he drop a shot? Did he pick up a shot?
He dropped a shot. on the third, I think, but it was pretty solid all the way around. I think he bogeyed the last. He went for the 18 in two, didn't make it, bogeyed the last, and I think that was the thing that pushed him over.
Yeah.
But it was, I think there were 2 or 3 birdies in there and a few others along the way.
Talking about those birdies, we see it, a few little vids have been calling you out to read putts and on a few holes, and I'm pretty sure, I definitely saw it. It made one of them from about 15, 18 feet.
Yeah, that was.
What was that like?
That was the one on 16.
Did he take you by the blue? Did it come out the blue? Had you been chatting to him, warming up to that point? Had you been giving him a couple of good reads to Phil? Why did that come about?
So I sort of stayed back for the first couple of holes. Like I introduced myself to him on the first fairway while we were just waiting. No. I'll be honest with you. I was very calm about the whole thing because obviously it's, you know, I'm there. I'm second tier or third tier, whatever you know, I'm fodder really in comparison to what else is going on. And I felt very lucky to be in that situation. And I was excited, but I wasn't nervous or anxious about it. So yeah, I just went up to it. I didn't want to miss. I didn't want to leave it too long. Yeah. Because then you won't get any acknowledgement at all. So I just said, look, you know, Mark, and he was like, yeah, Tiger, and it was again a couple of other caddies.
So he did actually give you his name.
Yeah, he did.
Say that, yeah.
He just made sure that I knew. Oh, it was pretty casual. Maybe he thought I didn't know. Yeah. So yeah, he sort of warmed up as we went along to everyone really. As I said, it was quite hard at the beginning because he was in the cart, Rob was in the cart with him, and he sort of just drove, hit his shot, drove off, etc., etc. So you don't have that moment where you can just walk over and chat. But yeah, we got chatting, as you say, he saw what I was doing with Phil, and we didn't really get chatting too much earlier than like the 7th or 8th hole. And then on 9 green, we were walking off the green together, and he had his putter, and I just said to him, Tiger, do you mind if I, is that the one you won, you know, your majors with? He's like, is that the one? Because I know you've got a few. He's like, yeah. It's like, do you mind if I do? He's like, absolutely, yeah. And I just got it in my hands, and I was just like, well, first of all, this is an absolute dream. Yeah,
don't drop it on the cart path.
Yeah, not many people get the opportunity to have this in your hands, like the real one.
Is the grip like new grip? Is it worn out?
No, it's worn out. And I tell you, the first thing that I know, shiny, and the first thing I know, well, and really thin.
Yeah.
Really, for someone like
pin grip, isn't it?
Yes, the
pin grip with a slight curve.
The original sort of, you know, I guess it's an answer.
Yeah, really old school.
Really old school. Super thin.
Yeah.
Is the first thing I noticed, and super light.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, I mean, I putt with a slightly heavier putter, but we're talking like 10 grams more, like 360-ish, but this just felt so light to me.
Really?
Like in my hands, this would have won as many majors as I've already won, which is absolutely nothing. So, no, that was pretty cool. And then on 10 green, Phil and Tiger's balls were pretty much right next to each other, and Phil was going first, and I was reading it, and he was sort of looking at it as well. And I verbalised out loud to Phil, and Tiger was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so Phil hit a good putt, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I would have read it this." And so anyway, he hits it on that line, and as he hit it, missed it left, I think, and as he hit it, he said, "I pulled it." So he missed it just on the high side, but he came back to me, and then it was really interesting because he opened up to me and he said, "I've been watching your reads and things like that, and you're a good whatever. You seem to read a good green." And he said, "I read it differently because I hook my putts," and I was like, "What?" Yeah. I didn't know this. I'm sure this is common knowledge to everyone, but he's like, "Yeah, I hook my putts. I've always hooked my putts, so I have to read the green differently." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Oh, so that's really interesting," and I had a brief chat about, you know, that and how...
Which is funny, isn't it? Because like, logically and scientifically, like, that doesn't really make sense to hook a putt. Does he mean, like, is he talking about, is he pulling it? Or is he, because essentially, like, a putt won't have side spin on it, because as soon as it grabs, it goes end over end. But then the other part is you go like, yeah, but it's Tiger and he holds putts, so you know, who's anyone to argue?
Exactly, and I didn't want to go too much into, well, hang on a minute, do you want to talk me through the tech on that, you know, the technical side of that.
Sounds like BS.
So yeah, I just listened to what he had to say, and he told me a few stories about other people that he feels like hooks the putts, etc. And then we go on to 11. He hits a really nice shot into 11, and he's the ball that we take, because on the par threes, obviously, it takes us, you just take the closest one. So he sort of gets the ball. It's like, from now on, I don't want anyone else reading the greens but Mark. I was just like, this is
Whoa.
like, he calls me out in
Big
front of
moment, that.
everyone. Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, so read the green again. And I said to him, am I basing this reads knowing what I know now?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, if you would. So
Yeah.
knowing that he hooks, he thinks he
Yeah.
hooks putts. So I've slightly underread, left to right break, slightly underread it, and I've given him a point. Like there's a perfect little patch on the green.
Yeah.
Anyway, he hits the putt, ends up missing it, and you can see that it misses it on the right. And he's like, "You bang on." So it's
Yeah.
like it's a couple. This
Yeah.
just starts to
Building
get
up.
a bit of momentum. It's
Yeah.
in front of everyone, and so
Yeah.
you know, I'm
Pretty
just,
cool to be able to, like, you know, someone like him, who you know is so in tune with what he does, that he actually does, like, he would hit putts or hit them a certain way, knowing that, like, he knows if he's right or wrong. Right. Well, I'd imagine normally, right? No.
Yeah.
You know, I would be in the same group, and you get out with somebody, you go, oh, it's a cup outside the right, and then they clearly pull it, and they go left. They go, oh, it was the wrong read. You're like, no, you've pulled that miles.
yeah,
Right.
and obviously I've had
Yeah.
an awful lot of that. But yeah, his feedback was instant. It almost before it had reached that point that
Yeah. He knew.
he'd say, no, I've left that out there, or I've not hit the spot.
Because you hear that loads, don't you? When you listen to any stuff that comes from like club builders with him, it's like he likes to hit certain windows, and then straight away as it comes off, he's like, no, it's that 6-iron takes off in the wrong window.
Yeah.
Like, as the ball's halfway up its flight, he's like, no, that doesn't work. Well, it does, and he's like mega intuitive over most people, especially these days. They wait for the outcome, see if the ball goes in or not, or you know, what's the numbers on the TrackMan? How do they come out? Where it sounds like he's the same with putting as he is with his fitting his irons to his shafts and so forth. Like, it's still feel, and he's obviously really, really intuitive, in tune with how the balls come off or so forth.
Yeah, and across the board as well, you could see that he was very intuitive with everything that he was doing. He was quick to make a decision and pull the trigger as well, was something that I really, really liked. And we spoke the other week on the podcast about that's something I love about Cam Smith. He just won the Open.
So no real deliberation. It's just like make a decision.
Yeah, well, he seemed to. At times he deliberated a little bit, but once he'd made that decision, bang, just pulled the trigger, which was really cool.
So we'll get back on the golf stuff. But was there any did he come out of any non-golf chat on the way round? Did anybody kind of give him any questions, or was he quite engaging with the guys, not engaging with the guys?
As the round went on, like as I would say,
would he have even known who he was playing with?
I wasn't there for all the conversations that broke away. Yeah. I would say that he made the effort to have that conversation with everyone.
I wonder if he watches like Dragon's Den.
Well, exactly. It was funny because Peter Jones was getting a lot more crowd interaction than, let's say, Phil or Stephen was, and that was funny because he was playing up to that, and he was very good with them. So I guess Tiger would have known in that environment that you know, these guys were worth at least having that conversation with.
Somebody.
Yeah. So I think he was aware that, you know, they were very successful in their own right.
Yeah. And how did the guys play? How did Phil play?
Do you know what? They played really well. All three of them. I was so happy for them.
Yeah.
Because they really got the best out of themselves, I think, in that environment. Because the crowds didn't. That it wasn't just a case that there were 35,000 people on the whole one. I'd say that most of those people followed the whole way round. There were some lulls but you're still talking about both sides of the fairway.
Essentially, everyone was with that group. Just
meandering along. Like there was some other people were going to see Rory and stuff like that. But I was really proud of Phil because I think I've worked for him for a long time, and getting him to a position where he's in that kind of moment. It doesn't matter. Like he's obviously very good at what he does, but in that moment he's a fish out of water, and he did so well. And I think the same could be said for the other two guys as well. And they had it just worked perfectly for them. Like everything as Tiger eased up, everyone else eased up, but in the early phase they all played quite nicely. I mean, we birdied the first. I think it was Peter Jones who birdied the first, maybe with his own ball. It just worked so well for them, and it was just such a nice. I don't know whether the environment, the way it all played out, made Tiger sort of interact more as the day went on, but it just worked out well for everyone.
And then, as we'll see in some of the vids, as it got towards the end, there was a nice little moment when Tiger does it's probably like a 15, 18 foot putt. Yeah. And he gives it a little point at you. That was pretty cool, that bit.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to lie, that was...
That must be quite a nice moment in your life, being a professional golfer yourself, still in a moment to get to have an interaction with the greatest golfer ever in an actual golfing situation, like what adding to his golfing life. Okay, it's only a 15, 18 foot putt in the J. Pittman Men's Pro-Am, but you still played a part in him knocking the putt in.
Yeah, and he acknowledged it. Like 16, that was on 16. 16 was kind of the signature hole. The behind you is the beautiful Manor, the Adair Manor, which is the hotel. Great hole. It's going to be a great hole in the Ryder Cup. That green's got to be like it feels like almost 200 yards long, and it's a sort of 45-degree angle across the water. So it's a mega hole, and there's an amphitheatre, like a hill where so many people. I mean, that in the Ryder Cup, and even in that event there must have been 10,000 people on the hill. So the scene was set perfectly, and again, he calls. I'd originally gone to get Phil's ball, which had just run over or was just sitting on the back of the green, and we took Tiger's tee shot. And as he's marking it down, I'm walking off. My back's to everyone. Again, like he hadn't done it for a couple of holes, and he calls. He's like, "Where's Mark?" And I'm just like, I'm walking up, and I turn around, and he's like, gets me to read it, and everyone's just standing with Tiger, and I'm doing I'm looking at it, because this is kind of like everyone's heard it, and I know that it's more than likely going to be on TV because the hole is the signature hole, there's a massive amphitheatre going on. So yeah, give it the read, and was quite obvious, picked a point, it wasn't one where you sort of shied it, or I didn't shy away from it and give a kind of
I think it's straight,
it's here,
firm and straight.
pretty much bang like that. And he just nods his head and says, yeah, no, I've got it, and as you say, bangs it in, and just gives it the point at me. And I'm set back. I'm not part of the group. I've stepped away. I'm done. This is your moment type thing. And as you say, for me, it chokes me up a little bit now talking about it. That's a big moment.
It's cool,
not many people. I never thought I'd get to experience something like that.
Yeah.
As you say, the greatest player in the world, acknowledge me for what I
really
did
cool.
in that moment in time.
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
That's pretty cool. And as you walk into the next tee, do you say to Phil, "No, I told you I was a good green reader"?
No, it's funny. Phil come up to me, and he outside of, because then Tiger come back and also give everyone a fist pump, and then give me one individually, and then Phil sort of come up to me and just, again, it's a nice moment between the two of us,
Phil's
because
quite good like that, isn't he? He's quite aware of.
He acknowledged me in that moment as well that was a mega moment for me. That was the standout for the whole day, for the whole week.
Yeah, in golfing life, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what was his best shot and his worst shot? Did he hit any shots where you just thought, "God, that's good," or were they all just decent shots?
They were all pretty decent shots. I wouldn't say he hit any terrible shots. I think for me, he hit a pitch shot on 13. He left himself in the trap and didn't quite. Actually, probably the worst shot. The best shot followed the worst shot. He hit a fairway trap and sort of dunched it out. Terrible word to use for the greatest player in the world, but and then he hits a lovely pitch. I mean, it's set up beautifully, slightly downhill, back left pin. Again, people surrounding the green. And I said to Phil, actually, I said he will absolutely keep an eye on this, because he will love this shot. It was just one of those shots that we all, you look at it and just think, this is perfect yardage, perfect conditions. I can send it in mid trajectory. It's going to and stop. And he did it, and I was probably 20 yards back watching the whole thing and a perfect view. And that for me, even though it's a short shot, he just executed it perfectly.
Yeah, there are the odd shot where I guess you've watched him over the years, and there's like a kind of comfortable shot in a certain situation, which he's going to play this, and the crowd are going to love this.
Yeah.
You just know, and he knows it as well. And he's rebel, isn't it?
Again, it was just great that I was in a position where I was standing literally 20 yards away and watched it unfold.
Yeah.
It was that for me was the best shot.
So you got to hang out with him for a day and see him on the golf course, and a couple of years after his injury, what do you reckon we'll see? Do you reckon we'll see more of him competing in the future, or did it look a little bit sketchy?
It's hard for me. If I'm really honest, I think that he's going to struggle. He's obviously done an amazing job, and I have to say, amazing job to get to this point where he's just even able to do what he did at the Masters.
Did he talk about his injury at all?
Not really. We spoke a little bit about it, and he spoke about how hard it was to get to this position. But yeah, he certainly didn't harp on about it. It wasn't something
Yeah.
that he would bring up and
Yeah.
reference as
Yeah.
and he never complained about it. It's not
Yeah.
one moment did he complain about his condition on the golf course or
Yeah.
anything like that. He would reference how he's in the buggy because he's trying to, keep
prep.
himself
Yeah.
fresh for what's coming up. But yeah, no, he was. But for me, I'm not sure it can get too much better.
Yeah.
And I said in the podcast the other week, I was amazed actually in his preparation that followed for the Open, the amount of walking
He did a lot, didn't he? Yeah.
he did. And then even watching him, I know it's flat at the Open at St Andrews, but even then, like he was moving so much better,
Yeah.
so much better.
It doesn't look like it's affected. It looks like he's swinging it as good as ever.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's obviously not as fast as his heyday, but he's swinging it pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I sent you that
Golf-wise.
slow mo, didn't I?
Yeah.
From the range, and it just looks
Yeah, it's
on
good.
the
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Like,
Right on it.
yeah, and his ball, he's keeping his speeds up.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not where he's used
How
to.
far do you reckon he was hitting it off the tee?
I was just under the 300s mark.
quite soft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was soft, and he had more. Like, so you could see he towards the back end of the day he was giving it a little more.
Right, yeah.
He definitely sort of moved in as the
Yeah,
day went
bit of
on.
confidence
He had
and-
more mobility, more movement, for sure. Because there was talk that he wasn't going to play on Tuesday, that he was struggling a little bit, and he definitely looked like he was uncomfortable at the beginning. I don't know whether that was why he was so focused.
Yeah.
It's because he maybe was fighting the pain, and as the round went on, that eased off.
Those bits. And then did he? A couple of questions, really. Did he chat about any other stuff going on in golf? Did he chat about any of the live stuff, or did he bring up any other? Did anyone touch on any other subjects with him, or is it all quite nice and just enjoying the day?
Yeah, I think it was more along those lines. I don't think anyone pushed him too hard on live. I think there were a few sort of like little one-liner jokes that went along with it.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think anyone pushed too hard
Little digs,
on an opinion.
Little digs at live.
Well, kind of like.
So I'd heard that there was a couple of little digs and dinner from a couple of the big players towards some live players, that sort of stuff, which
there was definitely
banter went a bit stronger than it probably should have done.
Well, maybe so, yeah. And I think even Tiger did a little speech in the evening, and I think he referenced something along it. But again,
Really?
it was like a one-liner. It was sort of a bit sneaky, but
tongue in cheek.
no, I think for the most part, people had their conversations with Tiger like individually. There wasn't really necessarily group stuff, unless there were weights on the tee, and then it was it was pretty casual. It would be about. There were two places where we stopped. Actually, there were like food stalls, so it was more about like,
Was he boozing on the course or not that? No, any beers on the course?
No boozing, but he went straight at both the burger place and the sausage place. He was straight there.
Was he?
Yeah. He was first in line, and he had a nice big burger on 5th or 6th tee, wherever it was.
Ketchup, brown sauce, any
I
funny
didn't,
condiments?
to be honest,
No,
I wasn't right on top of that order. But he threw back, I think it was 3 sausages on the 15th tee while we were waiting there. There's a drivable par 4. Yeah, he wasn't afraid to throw back a few of them.
So he's not a vegan then?
No,
far
I wouldn't
from
say
it.
so.
So I presume the best moment was the reading the putt, getting the little point, getting the little acknowledgement.
Yeah, I'd
Was
say
that the best moment, or was the whole experience the best moment?
The whole experience was great. Like, I would definitely say that that 18 holes, it just got better and better as it went on. It was, for me, and my interaction with Tiger was slow to start. That was probably
natural,
more my doing, because I'm there for the other, I'm working, it's not my thing. I'm very lucky to be in this scenario, but it's very much not about me. I was fortunate that everything went so nicely that maybe I got my opportunity. So that one individual moment on 16 was probably the highlight, but it was just like that back 9 I'll remember forever, because it grew to that point. Like, it was just nice. It was an organic sort of like genuine sort of the conversations we were having, etc.
Yeah, so it wasn't staged. It just that's the way it ended up.
And it was. I'll say it was two-way because I can. He may say otherwise. If you were to ask him, you probably would remember. But it just felt like if I said something, he would respond with a genuine answer and then ask something else. It flowed.
So he's a nice
nicely.
guy, personable. He was happy to chat to people. He's open. It wasn't shut off like it maybe been in the past.
No, not.
He's open to taking information. He was coachable.
Very much so, yeah. And again, listen, don't forget, he opened the door for that. I wasn't. I at no point forced
that's
anything.
not. Some players are known been very much the opposite.
Yeah.
They want to tell you what they're going to do and give it all the big one.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he was quite open to be like, okay, you give me the read, and see we go. If it was maybe the 17th hole of the Open Championship, he may have taken a bit more authority on it. But it was quite nice that he was more than happy to go like, yeah, you tell me what to do and I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was just great.
And he's obviously, I presume he's taking your number in case Joe LaCava can't make it one week.
Well, listen, I mean, there's some cards you've got to keep close to your chest.
Yeah.
So.
He can tweet you or whatever.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, was there anything else? Was there anything else that you want to share?
I would just say that is such a fantastic event. So the amount of money, I think they raised around £130 million.
That's a joke.
For charity.
Did they really?
And there is such a great fit. That whole the volunteers and the whole area.
Sorry? You don't hear that bit that they raise that much money.
You don't.
Because you hear about they all get looked after and they get got watches as gifts and amazing tailor-made clubs and stuff. But you don't also realise that there's super successful people actually. Get 130 million. What a number that is!
And it was the volunteers, like the shuttle drivers and all sorts of people. Just there was a buzz about what this event does for the local people.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal for Ireland and a big deal. I don't know whether they spread the wealth or not. But to that local area, it was mega. And if you think about it, bringing that type of field to a small town in Ireland is incredible. So there was a real good feel about that.
And I wonder how much Tiger is a part of that. Like, as in, like, I think is the event 50%, 70% more lucrative or better because Tiger Woods is there? It's be a massive amount, I would imagine.
I would say so, and I'd say that Tiger, Mark O'Meara bought Tiger over years and years ago because he had a good relationship with JP.
So the thing when he used to come over to the Dubai Desert Classic. I used to chat to Adrian, when I was part of golf in Dubai. He used to say that whenever they brought Tiger over, they always brought a mate along or got a mate to come with him. So one year that Mark O'Meara couldn't make it, they paid for Charles Barkley to come because if Charles Barkley came, then Tiger would come in and he would relax and they'd get more out of him.
Yeah. And
that was always the case with Mark O'Meara because when Mark O'Meara won the Dubai Desert Classic, they were a bit like, oh, he wasn't supposed to win. He's supposed to just be hand-holding for Tiger, and he ended up winning the whole thing, sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting, all the little things they do to keep him happy. But I mean, if that's a small price you got to pay to get all that out of it, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. And another thing I would say is that golf course, Adair Manor, and the Manor House Hotel, it's just incredible. Honestly, that is the best golf course I've ever been to. It is the European Augusta for sure. And if all the players are saying that is second to only the Augusta, then I mean that says it all, doesn't it? But that is a place to go to if ever anyone gets the chance.
Yeah,
that's
worth
the
it.
one. Yeah, and I think it's very accessible as well, from what I hear.
You just got to pay a coin.
In you go. I think it's. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you.
Look it up online.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, fascinating hearing about your experience with Tiger. Sounds like he was a top lad, and you helped him on his journey to one shot better than he would have shot had he read the putt for himself. And I really hope that he gives you a call if Joe can't make it one week.
Listen, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see.